And we're speaking with Mark Lewisohn. We're here at Century City. It's the 28th of October, 2013.
Yep.
Now, Mark, you've just published a monumental piece of work.
Thank you.
Volume 1 of the 3-volume Beatles biography. 7 years in the making, or 7 years in the researching.
Yeah.
3 years in the writing.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the new voices that have told their stories
Yes.
in a way that have not been told before. People have given you pieces of the puzzle that were missing forever, and now we have the definitive version of what really happened.
As close to definitive as you can ever get with something, yeah, I think so. The point is there are so many more witnesses to events than you would ever normally see in other Beatle books in the past. You tend to get the same people quoted time and time again in Beatle books, and I was really anxious to have some fresh voices in there. So, I tracked down people. A big part of the job was tracing people and persuading them that they could share their stories with me safely, and they could trust me, and I wouldn't abuse their trust. And you build bridges with people, and then they tell you great things. Often there are people who have never talked to anybody for a book before, because just as there are always people who stick their hand up and say, "Come and interview me, please," there are plenty others who don't put their hand up, and you have to go and find them, and you have to treat them well and gain their trust, and then everything opens up.
Well, I think one of the great things is that you were able to contact so many of the guys' contemporaries. There's schoolmates, girlfriends, and they were really able to fill in a lot of blanks.
Yeah, they were. I mean, this all happened a long time ago, but the thing about the Beatles is that when they became big, it was often only 3 or 4 or 5 years after these events that are being described, and these stories just kind of solidified, if you like. Whilst one might forget so much, from the distant past, these stories stuck. But the great thing is, because they haven't been told so many times, they haven't gathered, the layers of extra dimensions, if you like. They haven't been embroidered, is the word I'm looking for, in the way that something that is very frequently retold inevitably become.
Right. It tends to take on a life of its own after a while.
Yeah, and I just want the truth. I don't want any of the artificiality that sometimes comes with it. And my own sense, anyway, of what's true and what isn't true, and my knowledge of the story is such that I would know what to use and what not to use, because people inevitably do add layers to a story, whether it's intentional or otherwise. And as an interviewer, you cannot simply use everything that people tell you. You have to be very, very careful to ensure that you're using what's right and leaving aside what is questionable.
Now, in the back of the book, you list, dozens and dozens of interviewees.
Hundreds, yeah.
I was curious as to who you might have wanted to interview but weren't able to get to for some reason, one reason or another.
John Lennon's best friend, Pete Shotton, for a childhood best friend, and lifelong friend, but childhood best friend, would have been great to speak to. I spoke to so many people who knew John really well. I spoke to other members of his gang and his group and all of that, but Shotton was obviously the closest of them. But he did write his own book, and I have other interviews with him done by other people. The point is, with a book like this, it's not necessarily essential that people have spoken to me for it. It's good if they do, because I will ask different and maybe original questions, but provided that they've spoken at some point to somebody and this material is usable, I will use it and say where it comes from.
I think it's really cool that you're able to kind of piece together a composite story from 2 or 3 different quotes from different places.
Yeah.
And tell the picture more completely.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing to do that, but I would only do it if it was editorially sound, and in this book it is. So, for example, if I'm quoting about a particular incident and Paul McCartney's talked about it several times, but on each occasion said something a little bit different or a little bit extra to actually thread them together into a cohesive sentence without changing any words, and to say where each of the quotes comes from. It works. And they are still all his own words. They're just not from one interview.
Right. But the story, the complete story that it tells is not been done before.
No, I'm always after complete. I did the complete Beat recording sessions. I did the complete Beatles Chronicle. There was a possibility that this book might have the word complete in the title, and I actually fought against that, because I didn't want to just make this one of a series. I want this to be standing alone. But it is in every essence a complete story, and that's what needed to be done, to be honest.
What's your reaction to how the world has reacted to your book?
I've had a couple of not so brilliant reviews and many really good ones, so I'm very happy with that. I think the reviews that haven't been so good, I just think it's a case of the reviewer not quite getting what this is trying to achieve. But yeah, the reviews have been wonderful. But more than the reviews, it's not just about reviews, it's about readers. What do readers think of it? Because I've written this book to be read by people who are interested in the subject or might wish to know more about this subject. And so far the feedback has been fantastic, and I'm very happy with it. Yeah.
Now, and coming to America on this Beatles Blitz, how's the trip been?
It's been fantastic. I had a remarkable week in New York, and now I'm in the middle of another remarkable week in L.A., then San Francisco, then back to New York, and back home. This comes on the back of several weeks of promotion in the UK. So the only downside to any of this, and it needs to be said because it's true, and that is that I should really be at home working on Volume 2. So I'm enjoying myself, and I'm spreading the word about the book, and of course I do want this book to be read and seen by people, but I do have to get home and get on with the next one.
You're just chomping at the bit to get to it.
I really am. I actually had quite a frustrating summer because I thought that through the summer, once this book went into production, I would have opportunity to do many weeks' work on Volume 2. But the production processes were very complicated, and I didn't get to it. So I really do need to get back and get on with it.
Right. Now, you had said that you weren't really sure where Volume 2 was going to leave off and where Volume 3 was going to pick up.
Yeah.
What are people telling you, suggesting you? I'm sure everybody's got a suggestion.
Yeah, I've had. It's great that people want to engage with the process, so I'm really happy about that. But my line is, and I think it's the truth, which is that the material will tell me where it should end. It'll be sometime in 1966 or 67, Volume 2 breaks, and I really don't know where Volume 3 will finish. I don't believe that the Beatles broke up in April 1970 just because a press release hit the newspaper, which is that day, April 10, 70, is simply the date when a press release went out. Well, the Beatles didn't break up on a press release; they broke up at other times, and never quite so precisely. So I'm not quite sure about where Volume 3 will finish. Volume 2 will break 66-ish, 67-ish. It'll tell me.
Of all the people that you did speak with, who do you think was the most valuable in terms of putting together missing pieces, debunking myths, clarifying things that might have been unclear in the past?
Oh, I spoke to so many people like that. It would be, in a way, it would be wrong to kind of single out someone, because I had a lot of contributors to this book told me very important material that I'd never heard before. But the one who springs most instantly to mind is Neil Aspinall, who was the Beatles road manager through the 60s, ran Apple for them from the late 60s until the mid 70s, when he really kind of just became their manager, if you like, manager of the Beatles for 30 years. And when he left Apple, he said, because he never did interviews really, and when he left Apple he said, okay, let's do it. He was going to get fully involved. We had an amazing first interview, and then he died, and it all came very, very suddenly, and this history is a lot worse for not having Neil more in it. You know, he's heavily in this book. He'll be in volumes 2 and 3 as well. but it would have been so much better if he had lived to tell me more.
Well, Mark, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time here. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
We're going to have more fun today.
Yes, we are.
And I very much appreciate, let me say once again, how you saved my bacon so many times as a fact checker on my Lost Lennon Tapes scripts.
The pleasure was definitely mine. What a great series that was to be involved with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Best of luck with the book.
Thanks, Steve.
Let's see it.